philosophy and economics.
And we're both at Riverview High School on the East Coast of Canada.
A common problem in high school is that there was too much content for our classes. There was no ability to personalize the content and personalize our classes for our students. There was no way that we could personalize their path for those students who just needed the credit and those who were going to do this content for the rest of their lives. There was no way to deal with the different interests they had, and there was no way to really deal with the global competencies. How do we add creativity and collaboration and critical thinking?
A number of years ago, Anglophony School District put a real emphasis in our professional development on assessment and formative assessment and evaluation. So we spent a lot of time over 2 or 3 years thinking about how do we personalize learning. What it came back to was creating a system of essential and extensions content for each course. All students had to master the essential pieces in order to pass the course. We didn't give students grades until the end of the course. This meant that they were free to fail forward. We could give them lots of feedback and multiple opportunities to show their learning so they could master the essential learning.
I have proposed that collaborative online international learning, also known as COIL, can be the way forward for maintaining internationalization of higher education in uncertain times. It is a sustainable approach. It's a cost-effective approach that many institutions around the world have already been using. Even prior to the pandemic, it was practiced in many parts of the world, including Japan and the United States.
In our chapter, we present the Positive Workplace Framework and demonstrate how implementing approaches aligned with positive education can lead to both student and teacher well-being. Our previous research has demonstrated that implementing practices related to one's basic mental fitness needs and promoting team resiliency assets can create optimal conditions that allow everyone to thrive and be at their best. But as our chapter title suggests, it is one thing to implement strength-based practices and another to determine to what extent these practices lead to positive outcomes. In other words, do they work? To answer that question, we present in our chapter the Mental Fitness and Resiliency Inventory, or MFRI, a questionnaire developed and validated by our group.
In the spirit of project-based learning, we saw it as an opportunity while the institution was looking at the courses which were running face-to-face and which ones could easily convert to an online course. We very much pushed for project-based learning to continue, and I think it did so very successfully.
Exactly, and in relation to the nature of the course, it was really good to see students engaged in meaningful discussions and collaborate and working on the tasks.
Shakina, what about you?
Several components of this framework were significant in shaping my approach to teaching online during the pandemic as well, Antoinette. I was challenged to exercise critical reflection by thinking through the layers of my own identities, to interrogate my personal biases, to practice critical humility by being open to diverse worldviews and experiences, and to reflect on how I could actively enact an anti-racist pedagogy in my teaching. Through the conversations we had with each other, I learned how to practice critical love by transforming my online classrooms into a more personal and authentic space where my students and I could care for each other first and foremost as human beings and foster a sense of community and solidarity.
We discuss how power can shift given the features of Zoom and suggest power sharing as a solution to the power imbalance in online teaching platforms. We propose principles for designing online teaching platforms for more effective teaching and learning, as well as how to prepare post-secondary instructors to deal with challenges regarding power relations and dynamics in the teacher-student relationship and the effects on student motivation.
I've been a teacher, instructional coach, and a principal in the North. These experiences have underpinned for me the importance of engaging with education through a social justice lens. I argue that allyship provides a significant opportunity for advancing anti-discriminatory education. In the Arctic territories, educators have resources that offer insight into Indigenous knowledges, history, traditions, skills, values, and beliefs.
All general studies and business faculty members of Yorkville University
from Ontario and BC campuses authored the chapter Blended Learning for Teaching During the COVID-19 Pandemic, with the brand new experience of teaching remotely during COVID-19 pandemic.
The chapter starts with an overview of some of the problems that many of our schools faced at that time and at times of crisis and emergency. And then afterwards, it proposes some suggestions and recommendations about how to handle such problems.
We look at the challenges faced by all the key stakeholders from professors and students' point of view in this new versatile environment. And of course, we also look at some of the key strategies that can really help us mitigate the risks in these troubled times.
I want to emphasize that instructors should always play the role of mentor in each and every type of situation in general. But in particularly this case of COVID, when the international students are away from their home countries, from their families, 10,000, 15,000 kilometers away, the role of instructor becomes even much more important than any other situation.
And when it turned into a pandemic situation, we were faced with lockdown at Toronto Film School, we talked about continuing the classes and converting to online classes and utilizing Zoom and CGI and various things in the film and TV industry that we often work with in video game and motion capture to continue doing classes and continuing doing theater shows. We did about 12 theater productions over the last 2 years, full-on productions, either as hybrids or online productions on Zoom, converted to a live stream to an audience. And so the theme of my chapter is the show will go on. And we in the entertainment industry didn't stop.